Live.
Hello, friends, and welcome to today's live level up conversation. And I hope that you had a beautiful weekend and hope you're having a beautiful week. Happy Wednesday. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, hello, friends, and I have missed you so much as well. Thank you so much for the kind comments coming in. I see so many of you joining on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and everywhere else. Thank you so much. Don't be shy. Jump in, say hello. For those of you who are brand new, I'm Winnie, your host and award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor as well. We are streaming here live on many different social media platforms. So jump in, say hello. Let me know how your weekend's going. How your Wednesday's going. Maybe in my mind, it's still the weekend, but I do know that it is Wednesday, and it's great to be here with you. The market is still open. Now, let's start with some good news. The Dow is currently up 341 points. The Nasdaq's up 49 points as well. We'll certainly take that. For those of you who are looking at tech, you probably feel good about that. The S&P 500 is also up 27 points. So positive across the board. Definitely things going in the right direction. And we've got a few more minutes left before the market will close. So I think it's looking like it's going to end in the positive here. Now, as you know, we've been having some pretty good discussions. Of course, there have been some rocky days the last few years, but overall, if you didn't know already, we've been having some pretty strong bull markets here. In fact, Wall Street is now facing its 2-year bull market. And of course, people are always concerned about what's to come ahead when things are going well. Are they going to pull back? Are we going to have the opposite and have some more difficult times in the financial markets? Well, hopefully not. Now, there's a story shared on CNN this week by Nicole Goodkind talking about the S&P 500 has surged a whopping 66% and even a little bit more today. Over the past 2 years, many traders are actually pretty excited that this is now celebrating the second anniversary of the bull market. This is marking significant gains despite many economic challenges that we've had, namely things like, interest rate hikes, inflation, and let's not forget all the geopolitical conflicts. And yet stock prices seem to keep climbing, which even just reflects the strong interest and confidence by the investor, the very strong confidence in the financial markets today. Now, historically, bull markets average about every, 3 to 5 years, which suggests that there actually could be more continued growth up ahead for us, supported by, of course, rising corporate earnings and the improving economic outlook that we've been experiencing. In fact, the third year of a bull market even often brings returns, with somewhat lower returns, but averaging just about 2%, with a high likelihood, of course, of increased market corrections. Now, although it's always good to be cautiously optimistic if you're going to be investing, some third-year bull markets have even posted double-digit gains. So you don't want to count off yet that this is going to be just a year. This could actually be a great year. So despite upcoming challenges, of course, there's going to be the potential for continued strong profits and optimism as well. Now, let's segue over to another bit of news. Now, we know that some of the most interesting stories come from the one and only Elon Musk, and this one is no different. This one's coming out of Tesla's. Now, if you haven't heard already, there is something called the We Robot. Okay, this is a recap of Tesla's We Robot event, which was revealed, just recently. So the Optimus robots at Tesla's Cybercab event were humans actually in disguise. This was actually reported by The Verge, talking about the sort of humanoid potential or human assistance. You'll have to be the decider of that, shared by Wes Davis of The Verge. This We Robot event showcased Optimus and how they interacted with guests. They were able to serve drinks if you were at the event. They even danced with you. And much of their performance believe it or not, was human assisted. But still, nonetheless, very, very impressive. These robots impressed with their responsiveness. In fact, many people who were observing these robots, including many tech journalists, actually noted that the operation was remotely controlled by humans. But nonetheless, although they were assisted by humans, they're saying that this is just the beginning, revealing that full autonomy um, hasn't been achieved just yet, but that's sort of in the future. So, attendees definitely reported many humorous moments when the robots just admitted that, yeah, actually, I am assisted by a human. The event, although while very entertaining, didn't really showcase significant progress yet in Tesla's autonomous robot technology. But that being said, never count on Tesla and certainly never count on this technology. Because as we know and we've seen just in the last few years, just how quickly things can go from concept to reality to success. So we'll see how this goes. But the event's spectacle of sort of teleoperated robots was in line with Tesla's dramatic presentations. And so people are really excited. People are very optimistic, and a lot of interesting news and reports came from this special event. And I mean, it really was sort of like, even Fortune magazine actually reported that this sort of almost overshadowed the RoboTaxi revealing that was sort of meant to be the big focus. But let me know if you've seen this. You like this idea? I mean, sort of, this grand unveiling, focusing on what Tesla is working on, truly autonomous humanoid robots and robo taxis. Which one do you think you would be more inclined to have or to use? Would you be more comfortable in a robo taxi, or would you be more comfortable having a humanoid robot at your house or office? Yeah. Things to think about, right? It is great to see. I see so many friends joining us saying thank you so much for the comments. Definitely great to be here with you on a Wednesday. Now let's continue on. I want to talk about, believe it or not, I know many of you, depending on where you're joining me from, are experiencing sort of some cooler weather. It's certainly cooler here in Southern California. In fact, I would say this is the first week that actually feels like fall. And I mean, it's a nice feeling. And when fall comes, we know the Halloween is just around the corner, and then you've got Thanksgiving, and then you've got that big holiday season. And as you know, with the holiday season, not only do you see things being decorated and it just looks beautiful and the coming together of family and loved ones, but it also means AKA shopping season as officially in full swing. Now, this is an article shared by the New York Times by Jordan Holman, talking about that despite uncertainties around the things that we've been dealing with, like the economy, inflation, of course, the very interesting presidential election in November, that holiday sales are expected to grow a whopping 2.5 to 3.5% from last year, which translated into dollars, it could reach up to 989 whopping billion dollars. Now, this growth in 2024 is slightly slower compared to the 3.8% rise in 2023, but it still aligns with pre-pandemic trends. So we know that e-commerce sales, or online shopping, definitely is projected to continue to rise even more rapidly and increase about 8 to 9%, definitely outperforming overall retail sales. People just don't like to have to get in the car and go out there and look for items and hope that they're in stock and deal with crowds and everything else. So consumers are expected to be this year even more price conscious. So retailers such as Walmart and Target, they're already offering promotions, and they're going to be continuing to offer promotions like they do every year to try to attract those budget-minded shoppers. And in fact, they're of course now starting holiday sales earlier and earlier and earlier. We know that Amazon Prime days, week just sort of finished off last week, but certainly we've noticed that holiday shopping now, I mean, at some point it's almost going to be the same time as back to school shopping. They're going to just keep moving it forward. That's what I'm thinking. But nonetheless, despite people being concerned about economic conditions, it seems like, at least here in the United States, people will continue to shop for the holidays and with vigor. With vigor. And speaking of vigor, let's continue on to my next story, because I think this is an important one For those of you who are good with money with me on today's stream, which I know many of you are, this one is probably one that will raise some eyebrows for you. This is talking about Americans and, let's be honest, their credit card debt. You know, so I'm sure you may not have credit card debt, but there are some, and there are many people that still continue to deal with this. And it is a big issue, not only here in the States, but many other parts of the world, I'm sure, as well. But CNN is sharing, Alicia Wallace on CNN, talking about how Americans now increasingly anxious about making their minimum debt payments because when you miss a payment, this is a big deal. And expectations for missed payments have now reached a 4-year high of 14.2%. This was last month, September of 2024, according to a new study that came out of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Now, although consumers do feel secure in their jobs, which is a great thing, and they expect earnings to rise, but the big problem that we continue to feel pressure on is the topic of inflation, which continues to erode many of us our financial gains. Now, lower income households, of course, feel the pinch more so, with earning under $50,000 a year, expecting a 20% chance of missing a payment, compared to 8.4% of those who earn above that level. So, rising debt balances, persistent inflation, this is all contributing to a bigger credit card problem. Managing credit card debt can be overwhelming, especially when it gets ballooned by credit card interest as well. So I've been hearing on some cases 20, 30% in terms of interest. It's pretty scary. So despite a very strong US economy, continues to be an issue. So I would just say if this is something that you're dealing with, that definitely know there's resources out there. And we're putting together a lot of content around that. And I'll make sure to share that with you as well. But there is help out there if you're dealing with this. And ideally, you want to try to, start to cut away that, look at balance transfer offers, see what you can do. And most importantly, if you feel overwhelmed, do know that there is help for your credit card debt. Don't feel like you have to do it alone. You definitely can go on Google and find some great resources today. A lot of nonprofits out there as well. So definitely take a look at that. And speaking of challenges, we got to talk about this. Now, I don't know if you've seen this in the news, but it's a big issue. 23andMe faces huge problems and, in fact, increasing uncertainty thanks to a data breach and the entire board resignation. Now, this is shared on CNN and CBS News. In fact, talking about the genetic testing company 23andMe is dealing with their data breach in the late 2023 season and the resignation of its entire board. So concerns have risen about the security of your data, customers' genetic data, particularly in light of the CEO's potential plans to take the company now private. So, cybersecurity experts are saying that customers should actually consider deleting their data just for protection's sake. In fact, they can request deletion of their data, but previously shared, like, de-identified data with third parties may not be fully retracted. And while health insurance discrimination based on genetic data is really largely prohibited, there's other types of insurance, such as life and disability, that may actually still consider genetic information in many states. So that's something to consider. If you did share your data on this platform and you are concerned, definitely go online, go to their website and see what you can do. But that is sort of the ongoing drama with that company, unfortunately. And speaking of other challenges, we got to segue over to auto loans. Now, if you're thinking about picking up a new set of wheels before the end of the year or in the near future, this is probably something that should be on your radar. Now, more and more American consumers are currently underwater on their car loans. So you got credit card debt on one hand, and now you got underwater car loans. It's not a good thing. US consumers continue to be struggling with upside down auto loans, as shared on CNBC. In fact, more and more Americans actually owe more on their car loans than even what their cars are worth today. This is sort of known as an upside down loan, with the average negative equity reaching over $6,400 in the third quarter of this year, according to Edmunds.com. That's huge. That also gives you another reason why people say, like, oh, I want to buy such and such car. In fact, my youngest son always says, oh, what car do you want to buy? But we know that in most cases, a car is a depreciating asset. Not only that, I would say it's a super depreciating asset because it is one of the things that you buy that most quickly loses its value so very quickly. And we know that now there's even cars that you owe more than they're worth, which is even more difficult. Now this marks an increase from 6,200 in the previous quarter to now 5,800 a year ago, which indicates now that there's even more financial pressure on consumers. In fact, over 1 in 5 borrowers with negative equity owe more than $10,000 on their car, and 7.5% of them have debts that actually exceed $15,000. So this rise in negative equity really was attributed to the car purchases that were made in 2021 and 2022, where you saw a lot of shortages of cars and consumers really had to overpay to purchase these vehicles. And now there's rising auto loan delinquencies, and experts are now saying that you might want to just hold on to your cars a little bit longer. In fact, this is something that I am a big fan of. I definitely appreciate and think that it's smart financially to hold on to your vehicles for a longer period of time. Maintain your vehicles, make sure they're safe, make sure you do all the repairs and maintenance on them. But that being said, don't be in such a hurry to change cars or flip cars and whatnot. You're always going to see something shinier, faster, nicer. I promise you that. But at some point, if you want to have more money in your pocket, those who drive older cars, who sometimes live in older homes, often are the ones who have less financial stress. I'm not saying it's always, I'm not saying it's everybody. But I'm saying that gives you a better chance to keep more of your money in your pocket. Yes. And thank you so much for the comments coming in. Let me know if how old your car is, and when you buy a car, are you looking for longevity, or are you in the other camp? I know there are a lot of people out there who prefer to lease your vehicle. They like to have that change. They like to have a newer vehicle. They don't want to deal with repairs, and that's okay too. It's just a different mindset, right? So everybody has what they feel is that makes sense for them, the right purchase for them, the right financial decisions. And I'm not here to judge you, but just give you a different perspective. Now, experts are saying, of course, that it is smart to recommend holding onto cars longer, maintaining them. That helps to avoid further depreciation, of course, and negative equity risks as well. But you just be really mindful of those long-term auto loans, especially for those people who frequently change vehicles. This actually could cause financial troubles. So before you make that decision, give that some thought, do some research. All right, let's continue on. I also want to talk about I'm gonna just a little bit, if you didn't know already, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has, of course, announced plans to release their now quote unquote unsupervised full self-driving FSD, which is going to take place in California and Texas in 2025 for certain Model 3 and Model Y vehicles. And they're thinking they're going to have their RoboTaxi production expected by 2026 and 2027. Now, I will say, whenever you hear something from Elon Musk and Tesla about when these vehicles come out, always, you know, leave a little bit of grain of salt in there, because remember how long it took for the Cybertruck to finally hit the road? Yeah, you remember. But nonetheless, unsupervised FSD is suggesting to be a step towards either level 3, complete hands off, eyes off driving. That's scary. Hands off and eyes off and eyes off, or level 4, fully autonomous under specific conditions. Although specifics, of course, still remain unclear, but they're saying, of course, there's regulatory challenges, especially here in California, where they're asking Tesla to secure additional permits for driverless testing and deployment of autonomous vehicles. Of course, Texas is more lenient in terms of their regulatory controls, and may allow Tesla to move forward a little bit more quickly. Though potential legislative changes in 2025, of course, could introduce new oversight. So I'm not quite sure about that, but yeah. I'm hoping. I am all about autonomous driving. Let me just say, if I don't have to drive again and the car can do its thing, I'd be so happy. That being said, I have seen the videos of some of the results of autonomous driving, and and not everybody is an autonomous car, and so there's still other risks, human risks as well, not to mention like animal risks and everything else that's on the road. So I'm hoping things just get improved in the future, but I feel like there still needs to be more testing, and it's I think it's going to take a little longer than we all hope it will be. I'll just put it that way. But yes, Tesla is planning to produce these robo taxis. So if you're with me live, let me know. How do you feel about that? Would you get in your next robo taxi? I think I would, in like a small congested neighborhood where you're just not moving very fast. Case in point, like Times Square of New York, many parts of Manhattan of New York, where you literally are going, I don't know, 5, 6 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour in some places when there's traffic, when it's really heavy. And I think a robo taxi in those situations would be great. I would be all for it because you know, sometimes when you're in that taxi and you're not moving, you feel bad, or in that Uber, you feel bad that the driver is dealing with it. And you can see the anxiety from the driver as well. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to get out here. I'm just going to walk. And they, they're not happy and we're not happy. And it's just that situation. But that being said, that's probably not everywhere. And let's continue on. I want to talk about another change. I wish I had better news, but today's just been a tough day. There's a lot of financial news coming out, and there are things that you need to know, but it's not all good. And so this is one of those stories. Walgreens, reported by CNN, is closing 1,200 of its stores among because they're also having financial struggles. In fact, it wasn't even that long ago when I was talking about CVS having problems, and now Walgreens is having problems. This is shared on CNN. They're announcing the closure of 1,200 stores by 2027. 500 of those will be closing within the next year. The company continues to have problems and competition from online retailers, and of course declining prescription drug profits and whatnot. But it'll be interesting to see, because I know, especially um, like during flu season, which we're in now, right? And like, when you need your vaccines, it is convenient to have these different outlets. I guess if they close, maybe different other types of city, or different outlets, there'll be other places that you can go. But certainly this has been sort of a key location in most neighborhoods, so they're having all sorts of problems. And so unfortunately they're going to be closing some stores, and so we wish them the best, but it's too bad to hear. Speaking of things to be put on your radar, let's talk about this. And this is shared on NBC News this week, talking about 10 million pounds of chicken products are being recalled due to listeria risk. This is huge. Okay, so Bruce Pack has recalled nearly 10 million pounds of ready to eat chicken products due to contamination. So affected products include pre-made salads, burritos, wraps, sold at many of the companies that you might actually shop at, including Kroger, 7-Eleven, Trader Joe's, Wegmans. I think I even read some of the warehouse stores. But the recall involves items produced between June 19th and October 8th of this year. So very, very recently, with some frozen products potentially good until 2025 to 2026. So it's important to pay attention to this. Now, fortunately, no illnesses or deaths have been reported so far, but consumers are urged definitely to either return or discard these recalled products. Bruce Pack is the company name, so definitely check out for that. Now, they haven't clarified if refunds are going to be offered. I would think they would need to, but Listeria infections are very dangerous for vulnerable populations, which can cause symptoms such as fevers, muscle aches, and even potentially leading to more serious illnesses. So definitely take a look and see if you have any of the products. I'm sure you can go to their website and see a whole list of all their products. But yeah, that's a big one. I would hope that you heard that, and especially if you have family that maybe doesn't pay attention to the news that you're watching today or reading, and make sure to share and put that on their radar as well. And let's continue on. We need to talk about Boeing. Now, we've been talking about Boeing for the last few weeks, months even, and all the struggles that they've had and all the issues they've had with their planes in the air, on the ground, and even in between. But now, Boeing factory workers are, of course, in Seattle holding strikes. Now it's going into the second month, in fact. Now, this is shared by Reuters that 33,000 Boeing workers have been on strike since September 13th. They're demanding a 40% wage increase over the next 4 years and, of course, improved pensions. They're saying that enough is enough. Now, Boeing, of course, has their new CEO and who's hoping to resolve the strike, improve wage offers, but there's continuing to be quite a bit of stress. Now, that being said, I know a lot of people are saying, well, if that's the case, you think Boeing will go under? And so there's another article on CNN that talked about although Boeing is having financial problems, they're now also borrowing $10 billion and raising an additional $25 billion through different financial strategies. But the company now has faced $33 billion in core operating losses over 6 years. And this has just become worse with the month plus long strike by their 33,000 machinists. Now, although you might say, well, that's a big deal. First the 737 MAX, having problems and delays, and then the 737 MAX crashes, which isn't good either, all hurt the company's reputation. People just don't feel comfortable now, often flying Boeing planes. But despite these challenges, the article talks about that because Boeing really has sort of duopoly with Airbus, there's not a lot of people, not a lot of companies out there that make these full-size jets out there. And so the market's so slim that it's pretty much ensures that they will have long-term survival, even due to even with their controversy, due to high demand and limited competition, that they're going to be okay. Seems kind of unfair. Maybe that's something Google can look into. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. But with that, thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Let's take a look at how the market closed. Market closed, Dow up 337 points. Nasdaq finished up 51 points too, and the S&P 500 also up 27. So I would say that's a pretty good day. And it's even better day because you are joining me live here today. And I'm so grateful that you are here. And of course, if you want to watch past full episodes of Love Up with Winnie Sun, you can check out NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, Roku, and many other streaming platforms. And of course, we always share them on social with you. And if you do share them online, do me a favor and tag at Winnie Sun. A huge thank you to Joshua, CrossX Fighter. I've been seeing all your shares and I really, really appreciate them. And thank you so much for being here. We'll see you again very soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care and be well. Bye-bye now.